Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand in your pyjamas bridge. Or I actually am, look, I've got my pyjama bottoms on. Yes, welcome, we're live. We could have been live earlier actually because Erik ten Hag's press conference actually took place at about 3:30 a.m. this morning. So we are early on the United Stand, but we could have been earlier. So yeah, I've spared you that one. But lots to talk about. He did talk about tactics, he did talk about transfers, he did talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. And I do believe that we've got a big day coming up for Manchester United as well. Get ready for deal done any moment. Remember I said this on Twitter last night, that I was told last night, which is why I typed it last night. I was told last night at about 5 o'clock, literally any moment. And we are in that stage. Have a wonderful day, everyone, at United Stand and in the chat, says David. Thank you very much. And welcome to Members Club. Ahmed, thank you very much for joining. Armin says, another season of McFred, we're finished. Well, let's fly into straight away. Let's just talk about Ronaldo straight away. So he was asked a question about Ronaldo. Basically, I think it was an Australian journalist said it would be lovely to have seen Cristiano Ronaldo in Australia. Any updates on Ronaldo and when we can expect him back? Obviously, last night on the evening show, we had a bit of an update that Ronaldo has apparently told Ten Hag that he's not going to change his mind. Well, Ten Hag is either lying or, as I said last night, I think that's old news because Erik ten Hag basically said, we made a statement about Cristiano Ronaldo in the last press conference and nothing is changed. So I've got no reason to believe that Erik ten Hag is a liar. I personally think there hasn't been a chat with Cristiano Ronaldo and Erik ten Hag for a few weeks. And I think Ten Hag is sticking to what he said a few days ago. He's not for sale. He wants to have a chat with him. And at some point that chat will happen. The Ronaldo debate has been going on for over a week now. It's been going on for a week and a half. It was actually Saturday last week that it came out that he wanted to leave. Personal issues still there, but Cristiano Ronaldo is not training, and I would admit this is not good. Obviously, we've still got to be very much under the radar of this is a personal issue and we don't know what that is, and I think every United fan will feel like that, but there does need to be some resolve on this. It's very difficult for Erik ten Hag to resolve it when he's on tour, and it's very difficult for Cristiano Ronaldo to resolve it when he's got these personal issues and he's in Portugal. So we're just going to have some patience with that. On a footballing level though, it leads nicely into what I feel was the best question of the press conference, and it was the opening question, and it was I think it was again from an Australian journalist. So big shout out, because I tell you what, I've listened to lots of press conferences, and whether it's European or tour, you don't normally get great questions from the home journalists because they just want to know what you think about visiting that place and the team that they're playing. And it was a great question. They said, how serious are you taking these games in pre-season? Because it led into an insight into what Ten Hag thinks about the transfer window so far, because he said it is only pre-season, but you play to win. But of course, we've got to develop the team, and that's what pre-season's all about. And I think that was just the question. That was the insight I really wanted. I wanted the acknowledgement from Erik ten Hag, because I know it, on how important pre-season is. And the games are part of that, but the pre-season training and building towards our first game 3 weeks on Sunday, it was a real insight into what we've been talking about for quite a while, that the importance of pre-season to develop the team is absolutely essential. And we are still developing this team with basically 3 forwards and 2 centre midfielders. McTominay and Fred, we've got no real backup. And then Martial, Rashford and Sancho, we've got no real backup. So this, again, it's Solomon, welcome to Members Club. This, again, falls onto the club and the lack of ability to get players out there on tour for him to develop. And, Rashford answered a few questions. We'll talk about Rashford in a minute as well. Quite interesting what Rashford had to say. But I think that Erik ten Hag's doing a great job, and I'm sure we'll be very excited tomorrow morning when we do the watch along for that as well. But we are massively weak in that squad, and we're massively weak in that squad in numbers because the club haven't recruited. We've lost Juan Mata, Jesse Lingard, Edison Cavani, Nemanja Matic and Paul Pogba, and we needed to trim players. But as I said back in May, Mata, Cavani, Lingard, Pogba and Matic are not, if we've got a squad of 25 senior pros, they're not number 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25 for ability. Some of them are in the top 10. They're not in the bottom 5. So this is what I mean. It's almost like some people are going, well, I don't miss any of them players. I don't miss any of them players. I think they all needed to go, but they needed to be replaced. Like, they weren't If Phil Jones goes, I'd say we don't need to replace Phil Jones, just get him out. Pereira goes, we don't need to replace Pereira. But Mata, Lingard, Matic, Cavani, Pogba, they need replacing because Pogba and Cavani are in the top 10 of that squad last year. They may not have delivered, but on talent, they're in the top 10. You'd put Matic in the top 10 because he's the only CDM we've got. That is something I don't think people are realising, and that is something I think United fans do need to realise, is that those 5 players that went do need to go. But if you ranked last season's squad, these players that have gone, some of them are in our top 10 and we're not replacing them. But the message is almost like, well, we needed to trim the squad. You do need to trim the squad, but it depends where you trim it from. You should be trimming 21 to 25, not a couple from the top 10 and a couple from the top 15. So we do need to recruit. And I agree with Faisal, we have so many defenders. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. Everyone get involved. So yeah, he said, we're happy to play Melbourne Victory. Different culture, different approach. We've got a full squad and we've got a strong squad. That was from Erik ten Hag. So Harry Maguire is back as well. He'll play 45 minutes tomorrow. He was asked about his tactics and how he wants to play. He said, look, you know, I want to be proactive. I want us to have the initiative on and off the ball, offensively and defensively, and we want to press all day. He was asked about Jurgen Klopp saying that they couldn't deal with our man-to-man marking. And I think Erik ten Hag, I love it, because I think Solskjaer would have sat there, and maybe another manager, maybe even Van Gaal would have sat there and enjoyed the praise and gone, yeah, you know, the lads played really well. Ten Hag won't do that because he's a massive critic of himself. He's obsessed about winning. And he said, look, we didn't man-mark all game. We man-marked at times, but, you know, basically there's room for improvement. And, you know, I watched that game as well. And as I said yesterday, I think some people went over the top. Not you. You've got every right to go over the top. But some people who analyse these games and have platforms just completely spoke out their arse about that game against Liverpool. Like, they were talking about we were passing triangles and, you know, I was so impressed with it. That really shocked me, how we played and how we dominated the play. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't watch the game, did you? You didn't really watch the game like a bloody goldfish. You know, you haven't watched the game. The reality is we did play really well in parts, but we also, as Ten Hag said, got exploited when they passed through the press. And we didn't really pass well from back to front. There's a lot to improve on, which I think we'll see tomorrow. So I love Erik ten Hag anyway. I wanted him to be our manager. But what I really do like about him, he's the first manager, probably since Mourinho, who didn't have a good brand of football. He's got a good brand of football. And I feel like, and I don't know what you feel, but I feel with Ten Hag, it's a manager that I feel in tune with. Because his expectations and standards are so high. Whereas I think some of the managers we've had, it's been about ego or it's been about delusion or, you know, just happy to be there. Whereas I think with Ten Hag, he has this obsessive drive to just be better and better and better. And I think we've needed this. We really have. Do you think McTominay could be the backup striker, says AJ? You're saying that on purpose. You're trying to wind me up. Bahadir, welcome to the Members Club. And it's Solomon. Can I just say to the members as well, our latest video is Lisandro Martinez, deep dive, comparing him to Maguire, Varane and Lindelof. Really interesting video. Heading stats, passing stats, all of that. You'll really find it interesting if you're a member, so check it out. You might want to revisit if you're a member, because today, deal done at some point. I don't know what time, but it's coming. What else did he get asked about? He was asked about... he did get asked about Eric Bailly. He was asked the question twice. He didn't answer the first question because somebody thought it would be a good idea to keep... I said this before. If you're ever asking a question in a press conference, don't ask 2 questions of Erik ten Hag. So somebody said, Eric Bailly, what about him and what about the youth? So he answers the question about the youth and you don't get the question about Eric Bailly. But fortunately, he did mention Eric Bailly later on. He said that we need a full squad and competition is important. I don't think that's a good answer for Eric Bailly. I said this last night. I ranked our current centre-backs, and you can get involved in the chat or the comments and let me know how you would rank our current centre-backs. But for me, Varane, Bailly, I'd put Maguire and Lindelof third because I don't think you can split them really, and then Phil Jones. So why would I sell Eric Bailly when he's our second best centre-back? Because he's been our second best centre-back to me for 3 years. He just doesn't get the opportunity, and I think sometimes... You know, if you've got a bowl of fruits and there's an orange and there's an apple and there's a pear and there's something else, and you're always going for the orange and the apple and you never go for the pear. I feel like Eric Bailly's a bit like that. There's nothing wrong with a pear, but people, you know, that people are always picking the apple or the orange. And I think that Eric Bailly is just stuck in that position at United. It's established that he will always be behind Lindelof and Maguire and Varane. And I think he doesn't deserve that. And he doesn't deserve another season of being a squad competition player. Look, I'd be stunned if Erik Ten Hag started picking him as a first choice centre back. If he did, I think a lot of people would be happy, but I don't think it's going to happen, and I think he should be sold, which is a shame, but I do. For him, greatness is ours this year, Mark, says Josh. Thank you, Josh. And morning, Mark. Love the content. Keep up the good work. Cheers from India, says Mohammed. Yeah, thanks everyone who's watching. We are live at 7:30 on the morning, which I've never really done before. So big shout out to the early crew. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video. He also spoke about the youth. Yes, he said, look, I spoke about it before. There's huge potential in youth, and we need to get that out. It's a symbol of our success. Is having someone like Marcus Rashford next to him as well. Hi Mark, how likely do you think we will do a deal for a right back? Says Akanesh. A deal for a right back needs to be based on selling a right back. So we need to sell Wan-Bissaka first. Spoke about Donny. He said, look, very interesting actually. He was asked a question about Donny van der Beek. Again, it was from an Australian journalist, I think. They did very well today. Big shout out to our Australian viewers and community. You've been a very good host so far. Thailand was fantastic, but I'm loving the questions from the Australian journalists. Got no experience with them at all, but I think we've always got to be, and I think our community is always going to be like this. We will applaud good things, and I thought every Australian journalist asked a really good question. Donny, he was asked about Donny. He said, look, this is Ten Hag's words. Donny can play deeper and he can play more advanced. But he did say, I feel his best position is behind the striker. Being in the right position, he's got a real sense of that. So what does that mean? I think you could almost spend a whole show talking about that, because look, the acknowledgement that Donny can play deeper is there. We know Donny can play deeper, but I'm not surprised that Erik Ten Hag is saying that Donny's best position is playing further forward. Why have we bought Eriksen then? This is something I'm really intrigued to see. Why have we bought Eriksen? And I said this a few weeks ago. If I was Erik Ten Hag and somebody said, do you want Eriksen on a free? I'd say, I'll take Eriksen on a free, but make sure you get me 2 midfielders, a centre-back, a winger, and 2 full-backs before you get me Eriksen. We're buying Eriksen as one of our first 2 or 3 players. I don't understand why we're getting Eriksen when we've got Bruno and Donny, who plays the advanced midfielder, and we've also got people like Garnacho and Mabry and Zidane, Iqbal as youth players who can play in that position as well. I don't understand. So, but not in a bad way. I'm intrigued to see how this is going to work, because he's just basically said that Donny's best position is Bruno's position. You don't need 3 attacking midfielders, and then you've only got McTominay and Fred as your holding midfielders. So maybe one of them's going to drop back, I don't know. Maybe one of them's going to push out wide, I don't know, because he did talk about the right wing. Bay should join Arsenal, he will appreciate. There are same with Ronaldo, so Zayn Miassi, who's up early. Well done, Zayn. Nice to see a few of you actually are early risers. Man United just released news about Maguire stating he has trained in Melbourne and is due to play potentially for 45 minutes. Slow sports news. Are you doing that on purpose? Because I did say it 5 minutes away. Donny can't touch Eriksen, says Robert McCormack. Another early riser there. Well, look, that's what I mean. What did I say yesterday? Robert, you've sort of teed me up lovely here. What did I say last night or yesterday? There is this assumption that Donny van der Beek is going to make it at United because Erik Ten Hag is here. Well, as we spoke about, Van Gaal got rid of Van Persie within a year and decided to go with Rooney, even though he'd managed Van Persie in the Dutch national squad. What if Ten Hag's plan is not to use Donny and to sell Donny? Like, maybe Donny gets sold. I mean, if you can't make it with Ten Hag, you can't make it with anyone in the Premier League, but I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. We're overloaded with attacking midfielders. Who do you think will be given priority, says Harrick. Well, I don't think Eriksen's coming here to just have a tour of Manchester. I think he's being persuaded to come here to play. That's what I mean. It's exciting. I mean, look, none of this really matters until the opening games of the season, but it's going to be interesting. Mark, you should buy Crocodile Dundee. He will do better than Maguire, says Zayn Miassi. I love that film. And do you think Martinez is coming in to play DM? He has all the attributes and gives me Mascherano vibes, says The Real Deal. For the millionth time, The Real Deal, Lisandro Martinez is coming to Manchester United as a centre-back. And the reason he's coming to Manchester United as a centre-back is because we haven't got a left-footed centre-back, and it's very important in a Ten Hag system that you know to play the high line and you know to cover the flanks when your full-back goes forward. It's very difficult for a right-footed centre-back to cover the flank when the left-back goes forward. Lisandro Martinez is being brought in as a centre-back. In a year's time, we might bring in another centre-back, and Lisandro Martinez may move into CDM. But we are buying a centre-back. That was always Manchester United's plan. And we wanted Timber and we didn't get him, so we went for Lisandro Martinez. Nobody knows what the future is, but I can tell you 100% that Lisandro Martinez is being bought as a centre-back. Now, when he gets him and he sees the weaknesses of the midfield, he might change his mind, but the signing is as a centre-back. Should United play McFred as a strike partnership, says Ice. Also, can I just say as well, we are not in a position where we can buy a luxury player. Loving the members' content, says Ben. Thank you very much, Ben. And remember, if you are a member, to click into the Fantasy Premier League thing we've got going on as well. Dominic, welcome to the members' club. Why would you buy a player who can play CDM and centre-back? Why would you buy John O'Shea? We need specialists. We don't need utility. You either buy a CDM or you buy a centre-back. You don't buy a player that can play CDM and centre-back because they'll never play. Because, you can play CDM, but we've got McTominay, Fred and De Jong. You can play centre-back, but we've got Maguire and Varane. You end up being a master of all trades, a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I expect Lisandro Martinez for 50 million quid to go straight into the team. Remember the value that we're putting on him as well. We desperately need that second midfielder, says Johan. And I would expect, Simon Stone even said it in the last few hours, Lisandro Martinez, done deal. Anytime in the next few hours we'll be live. Nani recently signed for Victory down here. Very excited, says Adrian. Hopefully he will play. Yeah. Francis, thank you for being a member for 2 months. Spoke about Donny. In relation to Sancho, look, the question about how good Sancho was is irrelevant. The way Erik ten Hag developed the question was very good. He said, we're good on the left side. We want to be good on the right side. Very simple. I mean, Ten Hag still is very short with his answers. Eriksen could play a Carrick role. Look, Dino, there might be something weird like that happening, but I don't know that Eriksen's going to play the... Can you imagine Eriksen defending the back four away to Liverpool at Anfield? I mean, Fabinho will eat him for breakfast. I don't think Eriksen's going to play there, but I think something like that might happen. I mean... I don't know. I think the midfield is the big question mark with United, isn't it? But I liked what he said about that because we are good down the left-hand side. And what he meant was we weren't good down the left-hand side last year. Is that what he meant by that is that we've got Elanga, we've got Sancho, we've got Rashford. They can all play off the left. But no, we're not good off the right-hand side. And everyone knows we're better down the left. Even our left-backs are better than our right-backs. And he wants to be good down the right-hand side, and he even said it, because if you're only good down the left-hand side, it's too predictable. We want to be good down the right-hand side as well. So this is why we need Anthony, really. Going to bed here in California, says Joe. I hate to believe this, but maybe Ten Hag is being told to rely on the youth this season to get more patience from the fans. I don't know about that, Joe. I think really he's being asked questions about the youth, and that's evidential that he's being asked questions about the youth. It's not. I don't think he's pushing the youth at all, and a manager that tries to get by with youth with that United team is going to fail, and it would be unfair on the youth. Like, I've seen youth come through at United, and the best example is the class of '92, who didn't. What people don't remember about the class of '92 is that yes, they won that league title, they won the double in '96, but Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, David Beckham, Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, they'd all been playing here and there for a couple of years before that. Like, I remember Beckham playing in the Champions League in '93, wasn't it? Maybe '94. So they'd all been integrated gradually. They didn't just get dropped into the team. And then when they were in the team, you got people like Schmeichel, Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, Eric Cantona, Dennis Irwin. So we are not going to go into next season and throw in Iqbal and 2 other youngsters and say crack on with it, because they'll sink. They need to be gradually integrated in, and they need to have real leaders around them. Prediction that Ten Hag will coach Fred into a class player and McTominay will be dropped, says Jono. Hope so. I would go with Fred over McTominay if I had to play either of them. At least now we know at least Erik ten Hag acknowledges that Donny can play as an 8 and not just as a 10, says Salah. Yeah, well, we've always known that. In the know, people knew that. Mark, after Lisandro signs, will De Jong be our last possible signing? Says Oz. Rashid, welcome to the Members Club. And Fabio Cannavaro, Robert Ayala were small centre-backs but were still class, says BS. Hey, mate, look, if you remember, you should already know this. Check out the video we've done on Lisandro Martinez comparing him to Maguire on the Members section. People are going on about Lisandro Martinez's height. I'll tell you now, and I'll tell you for free, his height is not an issue. He's doing a good job. He's very good at that. And... I think that's important to acknowledge. On the kits, let's wait and see what this happens. But apparently the new away kit is coming out for Saturday. Don't think we're wearing it tomorrow. It's coming out on Saturday. And then the third kit's coming out for the game. I think it's against Villa in Perth. That's what I've been told. We'll wait and see on that. So if you're interested in kits, apparently the white kit is coming out on Saturday. And the third kit is coming out ahead of the Villa game because it's something to do with Perth colours or something like that, and there's a good relationship between Perth and Manchester United. So let's wait and see if that comes true. Ericsson played as an 8 for Brentford, says Ollie. He was a more advanced midfielder though, in a 3. He basically played in the Bruno role. Fabio Cannavaro, Ayala were small centre-backs but were still class. So was Puyol as well. So yeah. Let's just talk about what Rashford said as well. Look, I know that Ten Hag really values Rashford and it's very important to get the best out of Rashford. Manchester United actually mentioned Rashford in the interview with Ten Hag. Like, they're obsessed with getting the best out of Rashford. They know the value of Rashford. He's a youth player. He's got massive potential. He's got massive reach as a brand. You know, Rashford can be Ronaldo to this club in relation to reach. So there's a lot of impetus around making Marcus Rashford as good as he can be. But ultimately, it comes down to Marcus Rashford himself. So let's listen to what he had to say. He said he's feeling fitter than ever, and basically said that it's the first pre-season he's had where he's been involved from the start. He said it's easier to make mistakes in a team that's winning, and it's a fresh start, and they've got to learn from their mistakes and get on with it. And he said that he feels fit, and they're a lot fitter than they were last year. I mean, to be fair, it's the cliches, isn't it? I mean, Luke Shaw said this last week. I like Rashford and I like Luke Shaw. I don't really like the whole cliche of we're fitter than we were last year, because I tell you what, if every player was fitter than they were with the previous manager, they must be able to run a marathon, because it's just a cliche. Oh, we're much fitter than we were last year. You hear it every single time. And also, it doesn't sit right with me when Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford are basically throwing Rangnick and Solskjaer under the bus, because Rangnick and Solskjaer weren't putting shirts on to go and play and get stuffed and walk about. So I don't like it when we hear we're fitter than we were last year and everything's better than it was last year, because there was a lot of things that went wrong last year, and a lot of those things went wrong because of the players themselves. I understand why they do it, and look, I like Rashford and I like Luke Shaw, but I'm sure they won't be the last player to come out and say, we're fitter than we were last year. But it is a bit of a cliche as well. Alex says, hi Mark, love the content. I own a cafe in Epping, Melbourne called Coffee Hit. We are offering 10% store worldwide for United Stand members and anyone who's wearing a United shirt from tomorrow through to the end of the tour. Alex, there you go. Coffee Hit in Melbourne. 10% off if you're a United Stand member. Walk in and you get 10% off. Or if you're wearing a United shirt. I like the promotion there, Alex. Well done. Coffee Hit Melbourne. I'm going to write it down and I'll tell Adam and Ryan to get in. All of the big Ajax players under Ten Hag, Donny, De Jong, Ziyech and De Ligt haven't done well, says Sadiq, when they left Ten Hag. De Jong's done all right. Josh has just gifted 20 United Stand memberships. What a legend you are, Josh. If you are one of those 20, check out the Martinez video and make sure you join the Fantasy Premier League video as well. And big shout out to Josh. Rashford reminds me of the son of the coach. No one wants to slate him internally because it's the coach's son, says Nav. Look, I'm one of the few, it feels like these days, who actually likes Marcus Rashford as a player. I'm more than open to criticising him because he was criticisable last year. And I know the brand Rashford hate the criticism, but I couldn't give a shit about brand Rashford. I think what Rashford's done off the pitch in relation to, poverty and food poverty is amazing. But in relation to brand Rashford, I couldn't give a shit about it with regards to his football and, what he wants to do around that. And but what I do care about is I think there's a good player in him. And that's what I want to see. And I think that's what Ten Hag wants to see. All the players are going to come out and say we're fitter now than we were last year and throw the previous manager under the bus. I don't like that, but it's a fact of football. I think the most interesting thing he said is it's easier to make mistakes in a team that's winning. And I think what he's talking about is he should have scored against Liverpool. And nobody's talking about it. Sancho put a lovely cross in and he should have scored. He could have took a touch. And he missed. But no one spoke about it because we won 4-0. Timo Nunez, he missed a chance and everyone's speaking about it. And Rashford's right there. He needs to get his head in the game. And maybe he is starting to get his head in the game that if he'd have missed that chance and we'd lost 4-0, everyone would have saying, why the fuck is Rashford in the club, etc., etc. The fact that he missed a sitter and no one spoke about it, hopefully it's starting to hit him in the head that criticism is criticism because it's justified. Darwin Núñez is going to be a brilliant striker, but he missed a chance and everyone's taking a piss. Rashford missed a chance and no one's talking about it. And he's right. It's easier to make a mistake in a team that's winning. And ultimately what he needs to learn is these mistakes don't actually make you who you are. It's how you deal with these mistakes. And I always said about Rashford and a lot of United players, they needed to invest in mirrors in the summer. Look in the mirror, stop deflecting. The big thing I want to see from these United players is not where, you know, it's somebody else's fault or we're all forgetting about last year and starting again. I want to see acknowledgement of how crap they were last year, and I want to see them self-reflecting in the mirror about them being responsible for their own form. And I think Ten Hag will bring this out of them. Josh has just gifted another 20. He's on fire this morning. Well done, Josh. Absolute legend. And Navu's welcome to the Members Club as well. So, yes, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm expecting to be live again very soon in relation to the Lisandro Martinez. I was exchanging, I literally was up quite early this morning, so I was exchanging a few WhatsApps, and any minute now, not minute, any hour now, we'll be going live about Lisandro Martinez. So thanks everyone for watching. Mark, how do you gift memberships as I'm a member now, says Zane. I think if you go down to the $ Zane, click it, and then it says membership gifting. But I think you've got to be on desktop. It might not work on phone there. Thank you everyone for watching. That's your press conference update, an early show. I will be back at 10 o'clock, but I might be back before with some transfer news, etc. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.